realization of one, the beginning of another. Hopeful prospects stand in the shadow of opportunity. Massive candidates commence on an uncharted path. Today, these college heroes peer into the future, seeking glory, reminded of greatness. It's a beautiful day for a ball game because that's just about what we have inside the theater at Madison Square Garden. It's the 61st annual NFL Draft, and the Jet fans are here in force. They're first on the clock. They've been there since about Christmas. I think some of these guys have been here since Christmas. And this name, Keyshawn Johnson, has been at or near the top of the charts since about Christmas as well. Will it be Keyshawn Johnson, who the Jets draft #1, the wide receiver from USC? We've assembled everybody, and that means yours truly, Chris Berman, Joe Theismann, Mel Kiper. Welcome to Madness in late April. We are everywhere again as our draft coverage continues here on ESPN. 17th year we have done this, and as you've grown to expect here on ESPN's draft coverage, we're inside many of the war rooms, including of that one of the Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys. You've seen Jerry Jones and company, and of course they're hearing it here live in New York. Jerry Jones and company, 3 of the last 4 years they've been Super Bowl champs. Here's where it begins. The man that helped the Cowboys win 2 of those 3 Super Bowl championships, Jimmy Johnson, is now in Miami. We'll have War Room Cam inside Miami to take a look at what the Dolphins will do when you run under Jimmy Johnson. There are new coaches in the NFL this year, and one of them is Vince Tobin. Arizona has the 3rd overall pick. We'll look inside the Cardinals' War Room. Tony Dungy is the new head man at Tampa Bay. The Bucs will be very busy early. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 4 picks in all inside the first 41. We also have reporters everywhere, but the question is, are the New York Jets, etc., will it be Keyshawn Johnson, the name that we will hear within 5 or 10 minutes? Reporters all throughout the NFL. Is Keyshawn the man we certainly think he is for the New York Jets? We think it's all systems go. For the latest, let's go to Mark Malone at WeView Bank Hall at Jets headquarters. Mark.
Well, Chris, as you said, the Jets still hold on to the #1 pick. They have been in serious negotiations with Keyshawn's representatives since late last night. If they can't get the deal done, by the time they go off the clock, they'll either trade the pick or make another selection. Now let's go to Gary Danielson.
Vince Tobin sitting in a pretty good seat. He gets the 3rd pick. That's an impact player, of course, and it wasn't his fault. The other story impacting on this draft, Eric Swan deal does not appear to go through. He'll be playing here with the Cardinals. Let's now go to Sal Palantonio.
I'm at Raven headquarters in Baltimore. I just talked to Art Modell a few minutes ago. They have the #4 pick and are happy to sit there. He said they're 99% sure they won't move from that pick despite last-minute offers. They like Lawrence Phillips and hope he drops in his lap. Let's go to Hank Goldberg.
I'm in St. Louis with the Rams, who are holding picks number 6 and 13, so the phones have been active. Latest rumor, they move up to Jacksonville, give up their 13, and we're moving up along with Todd Light so they can take Lawrence Phillips. But they may not take a running back with number 6 if they don't get Phillips early. Let's go to Tommy Jackson.
Here in Carolina, where the Panthers have the 8th pick in the draft, the emphasis will be on offense. Last year, they had an outstanding defense that allowed them, as an expansion team, to win 7 games. This year, they'll look to help their young quarterback, Kerry Collins, by drafting skill positions on the offensive side of the ball. Let's go to Andrea Kramer.
Here in Tampa, the Tony Dungy era kicks off with the Bucs holding 2 first-round picks, 12 and 22, and 4 of the first 41 selections. The former defensive coordinator is looking at, naturally, defense, with needs on the line and in the secondary. Now let's go to Chris Mortensen.
I'm in Miami, where Jimmy Johnson's first draft as Dolphins coach is widely anticipated. Jimmy has the 20th pick, but he's been working the phones. Will he do a deal? Will he do a deal with the Cowboys and Jerry Jones? Speaking of the Cowboys, let's go to Chris Myers.
Here in Dallas, the Cowboys have the last pick of the opening round. They'll choose 30th. Don't expect him to stay there. In the 7 years that Jerry Jones has owned the team, he's either traded up or out of the first round every time except once. That's when Dallas picked Troy Aikman. Don't expect an Aikman pick this time. Let's go to Chris Fowler.
Thank you, Chris. Here in our ESPN studios, we'll get the inside of a couple of Mikes. Mike Lombardi, the former and the final director of player personnel in the history of the Cleveland Browns. He'll take us inside the war room, tell us how teams are built from an insider's perspective. And Mike Gottfried, a college coach for 15 years, and of course our ESPN primetime college analyst. He'll break down tape and look at the careers of the guys we have watched develop in college football in the past couple of years. Joining us here in the studio, part of a very good draft for receivers back in 1988, our own Sterling Sharp.
And Chris, this draft is exactly like that one in 1988. These guys are big hitters. They believe in yards after the catch. They're not as fast as a lot of people would like, but these guys love to take the ball to the house after the short games. Chris, back to you in New York.
All right, Sterling, thank you. And Sterling knows what it is to be a wide receiver picked in the first round of what a year that was in '88. Sterling Sharp, Michael Irvin. There's been a lot of chanting for the most scrutinized player in college football, certainly since the Fiesta Bowl, and that's Nebraska running back Lawrence Phillips. As you well know, he did not play the first 6 games of the Huskers season this year because he pleaded no contest to domestic assault and a trespassing charge on campus situation. Since then, he has decided not to talk to the media late. He has been invited by the NFL, but then advised not to be among the 11 ball players who we think will be drafted very early in the first round and be here. He will, though, immediately fly to the team that drafts him and attend a press conference, depending on where it is, as he's on the West Coast now, whether it's today or tomorrow. And after that, he will speak with us here at ESPN. So where Lawrence Phillips goes, who picks him, who makes a trade to get him, and is he still in the Jets situation? All these questions to be answered. But let's head to the podium and the commissioner, Paul Tagliabue.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the National Football League's 61st annual college player selection draft. The New York Jets have the first selection and are now on the board.
Well, you might as well be at Giant Stadium. It's not that far from here. The Jets and the Giants picking 1 and 5. The Jets and the Giants have not been in the first 5, both of the teams, since 1981. We'll have plenty of raucous developments. As we told you in our beginning, we expect it to be Keyshawn, and the card is going up. We're going to keep it right here as the card is on the way, I am told. Well, let's kick it to you, Mel. Wide receiver, running backs, defensive ends, no quarterbacks. That's what we're going to see, though, in the first round.
Tremendously deep draft for wide receivers, Chris. I think Keyshawn Johnson is special, though, because he's 6'3 1/4, 220 pounds, and he wants to be a Jet. He wants to be a difference maker.
All right, well, here it is.
Wide receiver, Southern California.
And the Jets have just won the Super Bowl. He's on the phone. He's talking with the Jets, and they did the right thing. There's no question he's a game breaker. And the Jet fans are raucous. Keyshawn Johnson, Mel. No question for the Jets. Would you make the pick like this?
Definitely, Chris. When you get a player that's that big and that athletic and has an attitude about him, which is what the Jets need. They need an infusion of confidence, a winning mentality. Keyshawn Johnson feels he is that kind of player to catapult the Jets into a playoff position. You watch him play, big, strong, physical player. Does a great job against these small 5'9", 5'10" quarterbacks just to see around the National Football League. He was a dominant college receiver. You see his body control, and then the way he shields a defender away from the football. People say he doesn't run the 4.4, but in the open field, he'll outrace defensive backs to pay dirt. So like a Jerry Rice, he's a big play guy without sprinter speed. And he ran a lot of inside routes at USC, which means he has the toughness to catch in traffic. In my opinion, he's a multi-dimensional player, ideally suited for Ron Erhardt's offense.
Do you think it's a perfect fit, Joe?
Absolutely, no question. I think one of the things also that was brought out that is very important to understand about Keyshawn Johnson is he runs as fast in pads as he does without pads, and that was very important when everybody analyzed him. But you take a look at what the Jets want to do on offense. They bring in Jumbo Elliott and Dave Williams as tackles. They bring in Neil O'Donnell as a quarterback. They bring in Ron Earhart as their coordinator. Richie Kotite likes the spread set, as does Ron Earhart. They needed a receiver. All they had was Jeff Graham, and you can see that the Jet fans agree with this pick going